Our next speaker is another doyen of the industry, Mr. Navneet Munot, Managing Director and CEO of HDFC Asset Management Company. Navneet has nearly 3 decades of experience in financial markets. He joined HDFC AMC in February 2021 and prior to that was ED and CIO at SBI Funds. He was earlier with Morgan Stanley as ED and head multi-strategy boutique, and prior to that was with Birla Sun Life AMC as CIO fixed income and hybrid funds. Welcome, sir, and we look forward to your talk on mutual fund industry, the road ahead. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Yelarega namaskara. Over the last 2 days, I was just counting. We have gone through 22 presentations, and several of you have been here on Wednesday, and you can add a few more to it. You have seen several interesting slides. You have seen a lot of data points. You have heard a lot about our past, our present, and our future. I won't give you any more slides now. I will speak straight from the heart. We are in January 2023. Exactly a year back, several of us were down with Omicron. I don't know Omicron, which way you pronounce. Last year, again, we were a little worried about the third wave of COVID. The second wave in 21 was very lethal. In fact, one of my own colleague, Harsha, we lost, and so many of the others would have felt the pain in 21. I think in another 2 months' time, this will be the third anniversary of COVID. And then, of course, in January 2020, when some of us would have met, we would think about what lies ahead. And over the last 3 years, we have seen the worst health crisis in a century. We have seen one of the worst economic crises in a century. India never had a recession, and we had a recession in 2020 calendar year. We have seen one of the worst social crises, variety of challenges, Black Lives Matter, or rising inequality, or all kinds of challenges. We have seen one of the worst geopolitical crises. The war in the heart of Europe is the worst after the Second World War. The world hasn't seen something like this in the last several decades. And we have seen one of the worst climate crises. I think people from Bangalore, I think what you have faced in terms of the climate change over the last few months and the pictures of the floods, etc., were absolutely, I mean, nobody would be able to relate to it, and so is the case everywhere else in the world. And despite all of these challenges, we are here celebrating new highs of the mutual fund industry, celebrating the Azadi Ka Amrit Kaal, celebrating the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, and talking about a great future ahead for the mutual fund industry. Over the last 3 years, despite all of these challenges, and all of us personally, I think all of you personally, would have felt lots of challenges, but the way you did the handholding of investors, kept the faith, and that's why we are here where we are here. That's why on behalf of me, on behalf of HDFC AMC, and on behalf of everybody in the mutual fund industry, I want to thank from the bottom of my heart for what you have done, and you must clap for yourself. You know, in 1960s, in US, I think a lot of people asked, Kennedy was the president, and I mean, what my country can do for me. And he gave one slogan that we should say, what I can do for my country, not what my country should do for me. I think in India over the last several years, I think Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas, and Sabka Prayas, over the last several years, all of us, I think as a country, we have never been as determined to grow, to do well, to set example for the rest of the world. I think this determination I haven't seen in my life, and I'm sure several of you haven't seen the way 1 billion people are determined to do well, that this Amrit Kaal really belongs to us, and we need to regain the global leadership and the Vishwa Guru that we have been known for. one of the largest trading partners for several countries in the world that we have been known for centuries, or one of the largest economies that we have been known for several centuries. And that's why over the next several years, all of you, the service that you are doing to the country, and I talked about that what I can do for my country. Between October 21 and June 2022, foreign institutional investors sold more than 2 lakh crores of equity. You just saw the chart in Anand's presentation. And during that period, mutual fund investors, the mutual fund industry were net buyers of more than 2 lakh crores. It not only provided stability to our markets, it provided stability to our overall macroeconomic environment. Throughout our career, all of you have been veterans in the industry for so long. We were taught that if global market sneezes or if US market catches a cold, India gets a fever. This time, I don't have to talk much about it. Several parts of the world have got an acute fever. We are yet to catch a cold. And that's entirely thanks to the hard work that you have put in place. But all of these things take time to reach where we have reached. It took almost 40 years for the industry to reach an AUM of 1 lakh crore. We touched that magic number sometime in 2002, 20 years back. Over the next 10 years, over the next decade, we multiplied it by 6 times, and we were a 6 lakh crore of AUM in 2012. In 2022, we touched 40, but let's say just to, when we are talking about the road ahead, to make it easy. So 1 lakh, 6 lakh, 36 lakh. You don't have to use calculator, where in next 10 years, that number could be if we just extrapolate what you have done in last 20 years, right? 1, 6, 36 into 6 is 216. But I think the way things have just started growing, logically it should be more. Why is that? So I told you that it took almost like 40 years of the industry to reach the first 1 lakh crore. But the other way to look at it, in 2014, first time we touched a number of 10 lakh crores for the industry. Over the next 3 years in 2017, so it took 40 years for us to touch the first 10 lakh. The next 10 lakh crore got added in 3 years, in 2017. The next 10 lakh crores got added in next 3 years, that's 2020. And the next 10 lakh crores got added in last 2 years, that's 2022. So again, there is another way of extrapolating because, I mean, this is called like the J curve. It takes years of hard work for something to reach where it has reached, and then of course, everybody reaps the benefit, but we have a long way to go. Our equity AUM today is more than 20 lakh crores. At our house, we manage close to 2.5 lakh crores. It will be difficult to even imagine that in 2014, the total industry equity AUM was only 2 lakh crores. We have grown from 2 lakh crores to 20 lakh crores. Again, you can extrapolate where we would be over the next several years and what is the road ahead for us. I can go on and on and on. How many of you are from cities which are known as B30? Several hands are up. So the total AUM of B30, the way we calculated, came to around like 50,000 crores or so 10 years back. And as I said that in 10 years, industry has grown 6x, B30 has grown 12x, almost double of that. So from 7% of AUM, it's 17% of the AUM. That number is higher in equity. And in this financial year, a larger proportion of newer SIPs are coming from the B30 towns. This is the hard work that all of you have been putting for several years to build that trust of investors, to build that faith of the investors in terms of what this industry can do for their wealth creation and the wealth that you have created for the investors. Individual investor AUM today is around 22 odd lakh crores. But if we look at the potential, the sheer size of the savings in this country, the growth that I'm sure 22 speakers before me have talked about, and you are going to hear more from the next speaker, I think sky is not the limit. We have a long, long way to go as an industry. I think this is just beginning. I'm sure all the people would have shown, and I'm sure all of you are veteran here, when we compare ourselves with the rest of the world, when we compare ourselves with various other emerging markets, and as we grow from not only an emerging market, but to as envisaged by the policymakers and by, as I said, a billion Indian, more than 1.35 or 1.4 billion Indian, that this Amrit Kal belongs to us. And if we are going to be a $20 trillion economy, very close to where US was just there recently as a size of the economy. And if we look at the mutual fund industry there or the asset management industry in US, which is almost $30 trillion, and we are yet at $500 billion. We are $500 billion. Now imagine over the next 25 years, as the economy grows, where our industry can be. I'm sure as I said that in 2020, in 2021, in 2022, we started the year thinking something, but something else kind of like worked out, and we really didn't know the kind of news flow that we had to face. It was almost unpredictable. In February 2020, when Nifty touched a new high of 12,000, everybody was celebrating that point, and that within few weeks we would have lockdowns and the world is going to go through so many challenges. But over the last 3 years, as I mentioned, I think we have all surpassed that. We have all crossed those several kinds of roadblocks or the variety of challenges, and we are here. What are the things that we need to keep in mind? What I'm trying to say is that, again in 2023, at this point in time, even if I have a crystal ball, like last year at the beginning of the year, if I was here and I told you that I have a crystal ball and I can tell you that there is going to be the biggest war since Second World War in 2022 in January, there's going to be a biggest war after the Second World War. We are going to have oil prices spiking by almost 50-60% during the year, from $70-80 to $120-130. Interest rates will be increased everywhere else in the world. US Fed will increase by 300-400 basis points. RBI will take rates to pre-pandemic level. We'll have inflation, which the world hasn't seen in last 40 years. Foreigners will be selling lakhs of crores of rupees of Indian equity. And I could have told you that I've got a crystal ball and all of this is likely to happen. And I would have told you that maybe MSCI World Index will fall by close to 20% this year. MSCI Emerging Market Index will fall by 20%. And one would have thought that Indian markets should fall quite a bit, because if you go by the history and see all these events and what has happened to the rest of the world, but the fact is our markets closed positive last year. And that's why a lot of these predictions and all that, I wouldn't do that. I think in this entire macro discussion, the 4 things that you need to keep in mind when we think about the road ahead for the industry. Number 1, India's economy will continue to grow. For next several years, we will remain one of the fastest growing major economy in the world. For next several years, I think our economy, which is currently $3.5 trillion, will go to 4, 5, 7, 10, 15, 20 trillion dollars. Our per capita GDP from 2020 at $200 will go to $3, 4, 5,000 dollars. And I think our market cap over the last 25, 30 years, India is one of those very, very few countries, very few economies in the world where economy has grown consistently for such a long period of time, for almost 30 years, 25 years, at 10, 11% nominal GDP growth, 11, 12% of corporate profit growth, and most important, the third part, where a small investor, by putting just 500 or 1,000 rupees in an HDFC equity fund or any other fund, could actually get the same kind of growth, in fact, better growth, because market cap has grown or the fund returns have been even higher than that, could grow that. In last 25 years, if that's the case, next 25 years, I have no reason to believe it wouldn't be a better story. So India's economy will continue to grow is something that we need to keep in mind, because we don't know over the next several weeks which way the geopolitics pan out, which way the interest rates pan out, what happens on the overall macro side in India or globally, what foreign investors will do. But none of that is as important as this fact that India's economy will continue to do well for next 25 years. The second thing we need to keep in mind is savings in India will continue to rise. We are a country of savers, and I think the rate of savings actually is likely to rise, because last several years, because the investment cycle didn't kick in, as investment cycle kick in, more jobs, more incomes or higher incomes, people consume more, people save more. When they save more, they invest more, and that's how the investment kicks in. More jobs, more consumption, more savings, more investment. And we get into that virtuous cycle. So savings is likely to increase. Even otherwise, we have been a hardcore savers country, and that is unlikely to change. As income levels grow, people will save more. The third thing that you need to keep in mind. So what was the first one, sir? So that I'm in post-lunch, you don't sleep. What was the first one? India's economy will continue to do well. It will grow. Number two, savings will continue to rise. Third, very important for us within that, a larger and larger proportion of those savings will come into the financial markets, will come into the capital market product. We have seen that our SIP accounts have grown from 3 crore to 6 crore. We have seen our overall folios growing from, in last 2 years or so, 8 crores to 14 crores. We have seen our SIP book growing from 5 years back, less than 5,000 crores to now 12, 13,000 crores. We have seen demat accounts growing from 4 crores to almost 10 crores plus, and of course, crores of investors, more than the number of investors that we have got in our industry, tried crypto, given by the advertisement that the crypto industry was giving, that more people have invested, or whatever, invested, I don't know whether there's a right word, speculated or tried crypto. So imagine the interest in capital market has gone up. It's a discussion in cafeteria in a corporate building. It's a discussion in women's kitty party. It's a discussion in college campus. Mutual fund is no longer a push product. It's a pull product. People want to buy, which is good. A lot of people are saying that large number of people are actually trying the direct equity. What will happen to mutual funds? I have a very strong view. I'm sure we are in Bangalore. Nitin Kamath of Zerodha has mentioned this, that if I remember the number correctly, 95 or 98% of the people don't even make the deposit returns over a 3-year period. So most of those investors will come to the mutual fund industry. So that's a larger and larger proportion will come to the mutual fund, and we haven't really touched the surface. I'll just give you one more interesting data point. The total individual AUM in our industry today that we have is around 22 lakh crores, which is roughly 56, 57, 58% of our overall AUM comes from individual investors, the investors most of you cater to. This number has grown, by the way, substantially. Again, credit to you. A larger proportion now comes from individual investors than the institutional investors, and trajectory is very, very clear. The total amount of cash with public in India, the hard currency in circulation, is 10 lakh crores more than that. It's almost 32 lakh crores. 32 lakh crores of cash. Now, in today's world, we are in a city, we are in a state which is like, I would say, I mean, all the fintechs are here, and then so much of innovation that this city has provided. The India stack and variety of work that has happened by the people here. Now, today you can buy a 10 rupee coriander with the UPI. Why do you need so much of cash? People have so much of cash under the mattress or in their wallet or whatever. I get reminded of the quote of Robert Goizueta. He took over as the head of Coke several years back. I mean, it was like probably decades back. And the competition from Pepsi was very high. They had a strategy meet for a couple of days like you have for last 3 days. And everybody in every presentation, every department head was talking about Pepsi is doing this, Pepsi is doing that, Pepsi is doing this, Pepsi is doing that, this pricing, that product, variety of things. And the next day he said that who's our biggest competitor? It's not Pepsi. The competition is from water, is from milk, is from juices, is from coconut water, is from all kinds of beverages. Pepsi is a very small part, think like that. So if you think about our industry, as I said that, a larger part of the savings can come to our industry. We just need to think about the cash with public. And look at the number of folios that we have got on the fixed income side. The industry has got 14 crore folios. Just a guess, what percentage of the folios are in fixed income funds, liquid and fixed income put together? Any guess, what percentage? I told you that the total money that we have from individual investors is around 58, 57% of the AUM. I told you the number about the B30 cities, the equity AUM within the industry and all of that. What percentage of our folios are in fixed income and liquid fund? Any guess? It's not even 10, it's low single digit. So around, I think, 80 odd lakh folios are in fixed income debt funds, and 13 crore, 20 lakh or whatever that number is in equity. Large number of people are yet to see the benefit of fixed income. Why I'm saying that? We keep calculating a lot of these numbers. Mutual fund industry, as a percentage of GDP, we have grown. As a percentage of bank deposits, we have grown. As a percentage of market cap, we have grown. But we forget one bigger number. We are looking at this total number of 40 lakh crores and comparing that with the bank deposits. In September 2016, bank deposits crossed a landmark figure of 100 lakh crores in September of 2016. Today that number is 170 lakh crores. 170 लाख करोड़ हो गया, 100 लाख करोड़ से 170 लाख करोड़ हो गया. In this period, we should not compare this with the overall mutual fund industry AUM. We should compare this with fixed income and liquid or money market AUM. That AUM has grown from 10 lakh crores. Even if I add all the target maturity, etc., this will go to around 14 lakh odd crores. It has grown 40%. Bank deposits have grown 70% in the same period, 40% and 70%. Mutual fund industry has grown at a lower rate on the fixed income side because that's a direct comparison, right? Because that investor is a very different investor than maybe the investor who has a risk appetite of the equity. So what is the size of potential? Now, if you look at the entire, let's say, all your investors have one single balance sheet. All the investors of India, household balance sheet is just one single. It has $10 trillion of asset. Where are those assets? 50% real estate, 15% gold, almost same amount in bank deposits and so on and so forth. The total equity allocation of Indian household is 4.8% today. And this is after the massive growth over the last 8 years or so on the equity side, 4.8%. So in the stock, a larger part has to come to the capital market or the equity funds. From the incremental flows, a much larger proportion over a period of time has to come to our industry. So that's the sheer growth potential that our industry has got. So what was and the last fourth, I must say that. So the first was, so that you remember that, and I intentionally didn't put the slide and I want you to keep that as memory. First was, India's economy will continue to grow. Number two, savings will continue to rise. Number three, larger proportion will come to the financial markets. The challenge for us and the bigger opportunity for us, how do we get into an instrument like mutual fund? And the fourth is digitalization. Digitalization is reinforcing all of these trends. It's helping India's growth. Over a period of time, people will be able to save more and will be able to put more money into the financial markets and the product like us, and that's why it's important we keep an eye on that as well. So there is tremendous potential. Over the last several years, so what we need to do? We need to do exactly what we have been doing over the last few years with a I would say, a bigger faith, and then we have the few things that I'm going to talk about. What has led to this substantial growth in our industry from 10 lakh crores to 40 lakh crores, 2 lakh crores of equity AUM to 20 lakh crore of equity AUM, the folios growth that I talked about. Even in last 2 years or so, our folios have grown from like 2.2 crore to now close to 3.7 crore. So almost 50% of the unique investors from less than 2.5 to now more than 3.5. So almost 30-40% of unique investors have come in just like 18 months or so. So this huge, humongous growth that has happened, and of course the SIP book that everybody talked about. The 3 or 4 things that have worked for our industry, and we need to ensure that we remain on that path. The number one thing is the track record of the industry. I mean, Anand just presented, several of my colleagues from the industry presented over the last 2 days, and I'm sure you know it. I don't have to repeat again and again. The track record that industry has produced, that somebody who did a 10,000 rupee SIP in HDFC FlexiCare fund is worth 12.5 crore rupees today, 12.5 crores. I meet several people across the country, and when I give this number, they say, yaar, shayad 10,000 to main kar sakta tha. Maine dhyan nahi diya. I didn't realize that it could have been 12.5 crore rupees today. Or in our tax saver, that the 10,000 rupees has become like close to 11 crores or so. This is the kind of track record, and I'm sure there are many other funds in the industry. So people have got faith. When they started investing, something or the other kept happening in 92, in 2000, a 3-year bear market, what happened in 2008, maybe again and again and again. Every few years, something or the other happened, and exactly as I said, in last 3 years, again in March 20, you saw 12,000 of Nifty falling to 7,700. 800. But now people have got a faith that despite all of this, despite all the challenges that we have seen as a global economy or domestic economy or in politics or everything, this is the kind of compounding that has happened. No reason to believe next 25 years are unlikely to be different. I think that has really helped. The second thing is the trust which has got created also because of the transparency. There is no industry in the world, which is as transparent as we are. You get the full portfolio, you get our salaries, you get the skin in the game that we have. Every single, the kind of transparency that we have, you look at your account statement, you go to any website of any mutual fund in India and look at what they disclose on a daily basis, This is absolutely unparalleled anywhere else in the world, and I think that is also giving a lot more faith to the investor. They can clearly see what my money is doing on a daily basis, right? That has really helped. And industry has always been trying its best to do more than whatever is the regulation. We started publishing several of our portfolios, etc., at a greater frequency in public domain than what the regulation required. And a lot of other disclosures that you get, the quality of literature that you get from almost every mutual fund in India, apart from, but also it has its own set of, the complexities. Several times you see some tweets, several times you see some news because there is so much of transparency. We put everything in public domain. That's why we are open for criticism, and every time we take it with a constructive set of mind, with a positive bent of mind that we will improve. We have never been, we have always been very humble about it. I think that has really helped. The third thing that has helped is, I think the technology. I mentioned about the digitalization. I think the ease of transaction, the ease of KYC, everything, even on the everything that we do, I think that has really helped. But this is a more recent thing, right? As technology develops, as India stack develops, I write this Person of the Year article every year, and I've said this year, in case you have not used, I strongly encourage you to Google and use ChatGPT for some time and how it can help in your business over a period of time and where the world is moving. I think that the transformation that's happening on the artificial intelligence and variety of other things over the next several years, I think this will really help our industry in terms of reaching out to a larger number of people. I try to create these acronyms so that I remember what I'm going to talk about. The fourth, it was about investor education, but because I had to put 4 T's, so I said training. I think that has also helped. The mutual fund Sahi Hai campaign has really hit the right note, and all of you in your own place, and meeting large number of investors, I think what you have done, I think that has also helped tremendously. But this is just a 5-6 year phenomena, right? In 2016 or so, when the Sahi Hai campaign started, I think people are getting that faith, and over the next several years, this year industry would be spending close to 800 crore rupees on that campaign, on the education, reaching out to large number of people. I think that will also help in terms of expanding our net, because we have a long way to go. All we have reached out is only 3.5 crore unique investors, compared to, if you look at the number of people who are, I was checking a few days back, I think the number of passport holders, if I remember the number correctly, has crossed 10 crores in India. Somebody has passport, but large number of those people are yet to open an SIP account or a mutual fund account. So we have a long way to go. We are not even talking about 1.4 billion, but look at the people who are filing income tax return, the people who have got a passport, foreign travel, car purchases, two-wheeler purchases, so on and so forth. What you need to do in your business to grow, a lot of time we keep hearing about the regulatory change, what's happening on the direct side, what's happening on this side, and variety of things. And I'm sure all of you would know this number, but just in case you don't, that in last 5 years, when the AUM has grown, where some of these changes have happened, when the AUM of industry has grown from 17 lakh to 40 lakh crore, that's a growth of 138%. And you know at what rate the MFD's AUM has grown? Any guess? The industry AUM grew like 135, 140%. The AUM of the mutual fund distributors, people who are sitting here, that has grown at what rate? Almost double of that, right, Shrikant? It's almost double of that. It's 270% or something. That's the hard work you have put in. There's no reason to believe, when we talk about the mutual fund industry, the road ahead, the role that You have played and you are going to play. I think it's very, very important that we keep reminding ourselves. But at the same time, in our own business, you don't have to look at these macro numbers that I talked about and all my colleagues would have talked about in last two years. You have to see one number, that how much of my AUM and the number of investors I am increasing relative to the growth of the industry, relative to the growth in Karnataka, relative to the growth in your region, so on and so forth. And there are 2 or 3 things, again, we need to keep in mind, and so that you remember it. That's why I didn't put the slide. I'll ask you to talk about it again. Number 1, existing investors. So a 3E that you need to keep in mind, looking at the growth of this industry. Growth to done hai. India will do well, savings will rise, larger proportion will come to financial instrument within, and digitalization will help in terms of faster growth. But the 3 things that you need to do for your business so that MFD AUM keep growing double of the industry growth is, number 1, existing clients. We have to ensure that existing clients don't withdraw unnecessarily. I think you had one session on that part also. I talked about that how a 10,000 rupee per month SIP in HDFC FlexiCap fund is 12.5 crore rupees. But how many investors have really done that? Thankfully, we have a lot of people sitting here who have really compounded very well with us and with the other fund houses, but not as many. Because a lot of people are not able to keep that balance for a long time for the power of compounding to really work. Just do the math, what that number could be in next 25, 30 years. So existing clients, I think keeping that focus and doing the right hand holding, because news flow, as I said, in last 3 years, if the kind of news flow we have seen every year, what the year starts with, what ends with, this time is not going to be any different. We are in a VUCA world. The world is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. It's not likely to change any time. It will remain uncertain. I keep saying this, the only, when people ask, what is that you think about this year or whatever 3 year, I say the only thing I can say with certainty is continuity of uncertainty. The only thing I can say with certainty is continuity of uncertainty. This will remain uncertain. But we have to think about our business, and that's why hand-holding the existing client. The number 2 is encourage the top-up. Several times the investor ka bahut acha paisa. I think this guy is doing 30,000 rupee, 3 SIPs with me, whatever, 1 lakh rupee per month, or depending on the kind of clientele that you encourage. Every single investor in India is underinvested. The investor that you have already mined, the investor that you are already servicing, has not invested the amount that they have to invest. Why? Because life is getting longer and longer. They really don't know how much they need to invest. I always tell MFDs, whenever you meet a client, always ask this question. Always ask this question. What do you worry more? You dying or you living longer? What is the question that you need to ask when you're meeting investor? What do you worry more? You dying or you living longer? The bigger risk for an individual is living longer, not dying, because that you can protect at least financially by buying a term insurance, right? But living longer is a risk that people don't know. The second is the lifestyle inflation. The inflation that we do all of that calculation when we are meeting investor, 4%, 5%, 6%, which is right, inflation has come down. But the lifestyle inflation is much higher, right? You didn't have the aspiration as a generation before what the aspiration that we have now and our next generation will have. So that's why you have to save a lot more. And third and most important in India is larger income. Whatever SIP that a person has done, they have to increase it continuously because our incomes are not static. We are not Japan, we are not Europe, we are not those countries where incomes are not rising. Incomes are rising here, right? Now think about, we are in Bangalore and Karnataka. Now in Bangalore's per capita GDP is 4 times India's per capita GDP. India's per capita GDP like this year should be अभी rupee depreciate हो गया तो शायद वापस थोड़ा $2,000 कुछ हो गया होगा. It was like $2,200 per capita, roughly there. Bangalore would be like close to $8,500, $9,000. It's 4 times larger than India's average. Karnataka per capita GDP is double the national average. Is double the national average of India's per capita GDP. Now, but if I look at the number of the SIP amount, so India ka SIP amount है करीब 2,200 rupees per month. I mean, if you look at 6 crore account, 13,000 crore, it's like 2,200 rupees. Karnataka is higher than that. If I remember correctly, it's 2,800 rupees. Bangalore is 3,200 rupees. But logically, it should be much, much higher, right? Logically, it should be much higher because you are double the national average and Bangalore is 4x the national average in terms of per capita GDP. So I think there is a lot of potential for you to get more money from the existing investors because they haven't invested enough. And that's like lesser effort because they have. And third is expand the net. So first was, I bhul bhi gaya, aap aage baithe ho. Existing clients, right? The second was encourage top up. And third is expand the net. I mean, abhi net, like India, may we talk about 3.6 or 3.7 crore unique investors. Now look at, and the total amount that we look at the population here, look at the wealth which is getting generated here. You know, think about how many from Bangalore here? So more than half, I think, were rest of now there are a lot of people from the Bangalore. I keep telling our colleagues that MG Road, Koramangala, Whitefield, I think these 3-4 should have the SIP size of what the industry has. Jobs are getting created here. Look at the volumes that happen on the real estate side over a period of time. The wealth which is getting generated here. I mean, look at the number of startups and the unicorns that this city and the nearby places are generating and the jobs that are getting created and the wealth which is there on all sides. If somebody is buying real estate, right, somebody has got that money also, right, isn't it? It's there in the system and it's there in the GDP. So it should come, and I think there's a larger proportion that has to come from these kind of places. I think the potential of expanding the net is just humongous. It's just humongous over the next several years. So what we need to do is, as I said, that keep in mind those 4 things. For your business, keep in mind those 3 things, and maybe putting in different manner, the 3 T that I think you need to do is, I think, ensure trust of investor. We never do anything which break an investor's trust, not only on you, but on the industry. I think every single investor that we meet, we have to keep in mind there's a lot of responsibility on our shoulder to ensure that investor has a great experience. Then only this industry will grow. When this industry will grow, individually all of us will grow. Use technology more effectively. So the second T after trust, I would say technology. And third T is think long term. This game is very big. I remember how we celebrated 20 years back that 1 lakh crore rupees, because those times the numbers used to be like very, very small. So 2 decades back, I used to manage a liquid fund, and I remember the celebration of touching 100 crores of AUM. Shrikant is sitting here. The first few 100 crores would have been so tough, and so is the case with several people that I know who are sitting here from different parts of the state, how difficult it was to reach that magic number of whatever a 10 lakh AUM, 1 crore AUM, 10 crore AUM, so on and so forth. But the power of compounding works like that. I think Charlie Munger just turned 100, I think, few days back. He just completed 99 and he's turning 100. And even at this age, the zeal that he has to invest and enjoy the power of compounding is so much. So hum sab to yahan pe, I think median age would be like 50 or so, or maybe even lesser. So the game is much longer. And by the way, all the wealth that they have, it took them, I think, if I remember the number correctly, Warren Buffett started investing at the age of 11 or so. I think he became millionaire in late 20s or maybe in 30s. He became a billionaire, I think, in 50s or so, and then the journey of 100 billion. This is how the power of compounding works, right? 10 lakh, 1 crore, 10, 100, and then 1,000 crore. So several of you are at 50 or 100 crore today. You can extrapolate that you would be at 1,000 and then another 10 years and then it's 10,000 crores. It's very difficult to believe, but that's why Einstein said power of compounding is the 8th wonder of the world. People who get it are the ones who benefit from it. People who don't get it are the ones who pay the price. I'm sure in this room, and credit to the MFDAK for this wonderful program and the wisdom that they are getting for each one of us. All of the people here are going to benefit from this over the next several years. And I think, as I mentioned, that there are a lot of debates will continue in the industry. I talked to you about the changes in the regulation, direct, so on and so forth, MFDs have grown more. There's another debate going on, active versus passive. I remember around 1.5 years back, there were a lot of newspaper stories, a lot of people were tweeting, a lot of people were talking about that alpha is over, fund managers cannot generate alpha, you should only look at the ETFs and index fund. Of course, one should look at ETF and index fund also. I mean, in India, a large number of people are yet to meet the market, but a lot of them or most of them would also like to beat the market because there is a long-term track record of beating the market. And I would strongly urge you to just go and check our performance over the last 1 year. Just when people said there is no alpha, and look at last 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and in one single year, where Nifty was like 1 or 2% up, several of our funds were up like 15, 17, 18%. That's the power of active management. That's the power of, I think, the research arbitrage and time arbitrage in India. And I have no doubt in my mind, over the next several years, active fund managers will also continue to do well. And you need to have faith on them. We have full faith on them. And I put most of my or all my money in the actively managed funds. And of course, at the same time, passive will grow faster on a lower base, and of course, the pension fund money, etc., that come, institutional money that comes, a lot of individual investors may invest. Some people who are also on the in direct equity or trading side, they will look at that, and it's a good thing. We are providing all the products as an industry. We are providing all the options to the industry, but at the same time, I feel very positive about the active management also. We keep discussing about what about the mutual fund versus PMS and alternatives, right? I mean, India is growing. We are where, let's say, US was in 70s and 80s. Mutual fund industry grew tremendously, probably more than 20 times or so. Same thing is about alternative industry grew there, segregated accounts grew there, institutional money grew there. Same thing will happen here. We are in Bangalore. There is a lot of opportunity in the private markets. If somebody has got a lot of investment in public markets, also want to participate in the private markets, which is the VC or PE, there would be opportunity. So India में opportunity सब जगह रहेगी, but अपने को decide करना है as an organization or as an individual, what is that we want to focus on. And then in mutual fund also, as I said, over the next several years, there is tremendous opportunity. We keep hearing about, as I said, equity versus fixed income, where markets and valuations are. But what about fixed income? I think we haven't really, I would say, seen the tip of the iceberg, the potential which is there in India, even on the fixed income side, money market side, the money which is earning in saving account of 2 or 3% or not earning anything in current account or hard cash that people have. Why can't they earn 6 or whatever, 6.5% even in a money market and a liquid fund today? There's tremendous opportunity there. There's tremendous opportunity in the asset allocation product. So बहुत कुछ अपॉर्चुनिटी है, बट लुकिंग एट लाइक वन पार्ट कि यार ये ज़्यादा ग्रो हो रहा है, अपने को डिसाइड करना है कि वेयर आर स्ट्रेंथ इज. नाउ लाइक फ्यू सेकंड्स लेफ्ट. As I said that I feel very positive about India. I feel very positive about our business because I think this is the best way to serve the country. This is the best way to serve the humanity. Creating wealth for other people is a tremendous joy. जो लोग खुद के लिए जीते हैं, उनका मरण होता है. जो लोग खुद के लिए जीते हैं, उनका मरण होता है. जो दूसरों के लिए जीते हैं, उन्हीं का स्मरण होता है. Thank you so much. God bless you. Maybe if it's ready, I'll just show you a 30-second video of what I said I genuinely believe in, that large number of people are keeping 32 lakh crore rupees in cash, why that money should not come into mutual fund. And this is a campaign on 15th August 2021, last year we unleashed, and we strongly believe about it. Across the country, all our people, can you show that just 30 or 40 seconds? Shrikant?
ये सिर्फ बरनी नहीं है जिसमें रसोई का राशन और माँ का अचार रखा जाता है. जमा पूंजी के नाम पर इसमें पैसा भी जमा किया जाता है. अच्छे वक्त का कुछ हिस्सा इसमें छुपाया जाता है. पर क्यों? सवाल अचार जितना तीखा है, पर हम सबको खुद से ये पूछना है, क्या पैसे को बरनी में डाल के कभी बढ़ाया जाता है? इन बरनियों में अचार पकते हैं, पैसे नहीं. तो क्यों ना हम अपने पैसों को ऐसी बरनियों से आजाद कर दें और इन पैसों को म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट करें। An investor education initiative by HDFC Mutual Fund.
म्यूचुअल फंड निवेश बाजार के जोखिमों के अधीन है। योजना से जुड़े सभी दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।
Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Munot. Wonderful presentation. Okay, a talk, I would say, kindly be on stage. Wonderful talk. You have really motivated at the fag end of our 2-3 day convention. Thank you again so much. May I invite on stage 3 stalwart MFDs. Ms. Manjula, is she here? Yes, Manjula is here. Mr. S.F. Patil and Ramakrishna Kolluri to kindly present a memento to Mr. Navneet Munot. Annavaru.